Well, hi, everybody. It's Sunday afternoon at about 4 o'clock. Joe Biden has just dropped out of the presidential race, which is a solid shame because I was really looking forward to seeing that guy lose. He's an awful man. He's always been an awful man. He's been a liar, a plagiarist, and a braggart, and one of the dimmest minds in American politics when he was at his sharpest, and that was decades and decades ago. I can't exactly say I'm surprised. I'll tell you what I am surprised about. I'm surprised he lasted this long, and all the people who gaslighted us about how mentally sharp he is have some splaining to do, especially those involved in the news service. But just a couple of quick predictions of what's going to happen from this point forward, because it all seems pretty clear to me anyway. It seems what most likely case is for me. So here's what I think is going to happen. The Democratic National Convention, Joe Biden will give a speech where he talks about his sacrifice, his lifelong sense of duty. Forget the hundreds of millions of dollars that he's made mysteriously the same way the Clintons and Obama and all the rest of them did. And he'll be lionized during the convention as a great patriot who put aside his personal ambitions for the good of the country, despite the fact that he held on to that rope as long as it was possible until a number of powerful people pried his nearly cold dead fingers off of that job, and I'm sure Joe Biden will be all smiles on stage, but inside, I think she'll be a broken woman, and that at least gives me some comfort. What I think the key is going to be is I think that Kamala Harris has to be the nominee. There's no way to pass her up. There's no way to pass up a sitting vice president anyway, almost impossible, but to surpass a black woman by anybody else, I just don't see that happening. So Kamala Harris is going to be who Donald Trump's going to be running against in November, and I'll get to the details of that in a second. I also predict that the vice presidential nominee will be Gavin Newsom, and this is not a big reach either. None of this stuff is particularly shocking predictions, but I tell you what I do think is going to happen. I think that what we'll be seeing is right after the convention, and in fact, from this moment forward, if it is Harris and Newsom, then Harris is going to be given the Joe Biden treatment. She's going to be kept away from the public as much as possible. The only time she's going to speak is going to be on a teleprompter, and she's going to be rigidly controlled. She's going to do the absolute bare bones minimum. And Gavin Newsom, who is a superb talker and somebody to be not so much concerned about as a candidate, but who is very, very slick, will be essentially the attack dog, which will keep Kamala Harris as much out of the spotlight as possible. That's what we're going to see, I think, between the Democratic convention and the election come November. Let me get my cogitating spectacles on here. Yeah. The Harris appeal, and this will throw some weight with the Democrats who are all about appearances. Gavin Newsom's very telegenic. That'll bring in some people. The entire campaign will switch now gears from being about Joe Biden's pathetic sense of accomplishments and Kamala Harris's bumbling at the border and inability to finish sentences without sounding like a third grade teacher. All of that will disappear. And what's going to happen pretty much immediately is the narrative is going to shift back to the first woman president, which will attract women Democratic voters who they were going to get anyway. That's what the entire campaign is going to be about now, is making history once again the same way we saw with Barack Obama in 2008. And again, she will be giving canned speeches, staying as much out of the spotlight as possible, doing everything possible to eliminate anybody talking to her and hearing that god-awful cackle. But the good news is that, two pieces of good news. First of all, to the degree that it's a geographically diverse ticket, both of them will be from California. And they've already got California. And furthermore, as a resident of California, I can tell you that California is not the Golden State anymore. California is not even a laughingstock anymore. California is roundly hated throughout the United States, not just because of the lunatic ideas that come out of here, but because of the sanctimonious quality of all of the lecturing that's being done. If they seriously think that Gavin Newsom is going to switch votes of Democratic blue-collar workers who are moving to Donald Trump in large numbers, they're out of their minds. Secondly, no one has ever run against Gavin Newsom tooth and claw the way that Kamala Harris was disemboweled in space of 2 minutes during the Democratic primaries in 2020. if I was running against Gavin Newsom, I would start every single speech by saying, excuse me one moment while I consult my iPhone to find out where the greatest concentrations of hypodermic needles and human filth are in the streets of San Francisco. That happened while he was mayor. And then I would make a quick detour into how many homeless camps and how long they're running, how many miles along stretches of railroad track are these Newsom towns, these homeless cities that have infested California since he's been governor. I would go after him tooth and claw on his miserable record of ruining the most beautiful city in America, San Francisco, the most beautiful state in America, California. And I would say this is what the United States has coming if this man gets his chance to find himself in a position of power. But then just go after Kamala Harris, who will be the candidate, and this shouldn't be too difficult. She is extremely unlikable and has lower numbers than Biden. Plus, you've got the entire wedge angle of, hey, I thought you guys were the Democratic Party. Is that why you have the superdelegates? Is that why all the people that pledged to Joe Biden are suddenly out in the cold? Is that because of your ability to manipulate things behind the scenes? Is that what that's all about? I'd go at that very hard. I think Donald Trump would decimate Kamala Harris in a debate, and I would ask for 3 of them. And furthermore, I think J.D. Vance will not be nearly as slick as Gavin Newsom, and I think that it would be wise for J.D. Vance to play to that contrast. If you've got this contrast between these 2 vice presidents, and Gavin Newsom is supposedly the defibrillators that they bring in to galvanize this Democratic Party corpse, then J.D. Vance's position needs to be, I'm a humble working man who came from low beginnings, and I understand what the American people want. You are the, nephew-in-law of Nancy Pelosi. You get $800 haircuts. You get manicures every 30 minutes. And I would go right at Gavin Newsom that way. And if you can poke him there where he's most vulnerable, which is his vanity, get him in his vanity and knock down his preening and his blue-blooded connections. And I think that this election is a slam dunk in 2024. Just some quick thoughts after the announcement. I'm heading to Oshkosh Air Venture with Burt Rutan for 5-6 days. Be back on Friday night. So we'll have Right Angles for you late, and our members only backstage show will be coming out on Friday as well. So I'm just going to take a little break up there and walk around at Oshkosh, touring the Air Venture Oshkosh Air Show with Burt Rutan is like going through Vatican City with the Pope. It's really quite something to see. So that's where I'll be for several days, and we'll see when we get back with Right Angles that we'll be recording next Friday. Again, it's Sunday afternoon. Joe Biden has just dropped out of the race. I really wanted to see the face of that man the morning after he lost this election by a landslide, but can't always get what you want. Thanks very much for joining us. This show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com, and we'll see you a little later on in the week.